Just like the Atlanta Braves season, really, I was going to say thus far, but just like the Atlanta Braves season, because nothing that's going to happen between now and the end of the season that's going to change at the Speedway Classic turned out to be a total mess. And it went from the rain delay to them trying to play to, I think Austin Riley actually tweaked his abdomen and he's now on the IL because of something that happened Saturday. And then it got even worse on Sunday. So, and then the concessions ran out. It was a mess. It was a mess. Let's just call it a spade a spade.
I think the concert beforehand was pretty cool, though. I saw that.
Listen. There were things about it that you were like, this could have been really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the weather really, you can't predict that.
But there was some, being unprepared. There was the weather. And then, obviously half the people couldn't stay for the Sunday game. But we did get a game. We did win. And the most important part of that win was Hurston Waldrep, who came up, drove 5.5 hours in the middle of the night. Came into a game where they were down 1-0 with 2 men on, prevents anybody from scoring and furthering the damage, and then goes out to throw 5 2/3 of 1-run ball and get his first major league win in the Speedway Classic, which is pretty crazy, cool. Right? That's going to be a story that you have forever. And yes, Eli White hit the 2 home runs, and it was good to see because he's the guy filling in for Acuna. So it's kind of ironic that could have been Acuna, but it was Eli White filling in and being the hero offensively. But the story is Hurston Waldrep, and I know they optioned him to Gwinnett. That was a procedural thing. I expect to see him up for the rest of this season or until he really starts to struggle. And we find out if he can be a member of this rotation going into 2026 or what you have in him, because I think that's a big piece of what you have going forward.
Boy, would that ease a lot of concerns for this rotation in 2026. And it's really just a control thing. If he gets the fastball splitter working, he can go, a couple times through the lineup. I know he made some mechanical changes in Gwinnett, and they've clearly worked. I'm too stupid to know what they were, but they are clearly working, whatever mechanical changes have happened, because he had control over that fastball, and that splitter that splitter is absolutely filthy. And it's only filthy when he's got the fastball because they play off of each other. But he had it, and it was nasty, and you saw it. I mean, the Reds aren't, the White Sox or the Rockies. They got some guys over there. So I think, all things considered, would be one of the better developments of the entire season. Obviously, you got Mike in the second half and Ozzie and Drake Baldwin, but easily a top 10 development. Maybe top 5 if he comes up and stays up.
Yeah, the fastball control has been the issue, and not just at the major league level, which we saw last season when he came up and really struggled, but even early parts of this season. And if you saw the numbers that he had coming in over the last month, it's been a sub-1 ERA. If you go back to the last 2 months, it's been around a 2 ERA. So he's put together some really, really good starts in Gwinnett, and then for him to come up and back it up in a stage like that where you're on national television, where you had to drive 5.5 hours, there were a lot of things working against him where you could have made excuses and been like, hey, that wasn't really a fair spot to put him up there. But obviously you can tell he's feeling good. And I do think if you're talking about the negative sides of Hurston Waldrep, I do wonder, when we think about Ian Anderson, how everything kind of, his slider and his splitter and his fastball, they don't kind of move off plane. You'd like him to develop a little bit more of that. But at this point right now, where we're at right now, I just think we're seeing such huge strides, and that's step one. And then can he develop another pitch? Does he get a little cutter to go with his fastball that kind of has arm side movement? Can he develop a curveball that has a little more horizontal movement and stuff like that? But those are questions for another day. I think we've reached the point where we're at step one, and step one can get you to stay in the majors if he keeps pitching like that. It's step 2 and 3 where you start talking about, okay, this guy's kind of starting to look like Spencer Schwellenbach, where we're like, those steps, he's still got a ways to go. But I think step 1 is what we saw against Cincinnati, and hopefully you can keep seeing step 1 the rest of the way.
Yeah, totally off topic, but it really, oh my God, it really bothered me. I'm not going to say his name, but somebody on the Braves beat said that stadium as a Speedway Classic reminded him of Death Valley or Neyland Stadium. And I didn't go, so I can't say, from firsthand experience, but I just want to tell you that you're wrong. Clearly this guy's never been to Neyland when Alabama comes to town, or Death Valley at night. Maybe he has, or maybe he's just embellishing. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Sorry, it's completely off topic. I had to say that.
There will never be a baseball environment, even in October, even the craziest October. You want to talk about Red October out there in Philadelphia where they make it seem like a football game. There will never be anything that is reminiscent of Tiger Stadium or Neyland or Sanford Stadium or any SEC school for a big matchup. So yes, that was definitely some embellishing on his part, and I totally disagree with that as well. But I thought all in all,
very cool. Didn't want to, I'm sorry that seemed negative again. Maybe I am that guy, but it is. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a cool idea. I think it was just almost poor luck. There was some poor execution, but the execution wouldn't have been bad if the weather was just fine. Everybody would have been just fine, getting drunk, not eating hot dogs. But I do want to just say that, wow, cool and very, exciting that 90,000 fans were there maybe on a Sunday afternoon. It pales in comparison to really any SEC stadium at night.
Except for maybe Vaughn Hemingway. You're right. You could have compared it to Ole Miss.
You're right.
Vandy, or something like that. But leave LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, any of those things out of that conversation. We got some more Braves talk coming up after the break. A lot of injury news that came out recently from Brian Snitker. The Atlanta Braves have a lot of injured pitchers. That means there's going to be a lot of injury updates on these injured pitcher, and there's several positive developments. So let's start with those. And I think the most notable is Grant Holmes. It seemed like Grant Holmes, the writing was on the wall. Elbow discomfort, 60-day IL. We've seen it time and time again, whether it's with the Braves or someone else. That's Tommy John. That's internal brace. Those are really your only two options. But there is this third option if it's not like a complete tear, and that's rehabbing it without surgery. Hopefully you can see positive results. And if you don't, you go and end up having that surgery. But the fact of the matter is Grant Holmes was going to be out for the season. Had he had this surgery now, or if he has this surgery in 4 months, it doesn't really change things. It's going to be the 2027 campaign when he comes back. So he's at least going to try to rehab this without surgery, and hopefully it responds well enough to where he is on the mound for the Braves in 2026, which you talk about Hurston Waldrep, but that would be probably an even bigger development for the Atlanta Braves and kind of knock off a box on Alex Anthopoulos' offseason to-do list.
Or two. I mean, he's that, hybrid guy that, if the bullpen market doesn't shake out in your favor or the starter market doesn't shake out in your favor, if healthy, Grant Holmes is that guy that you could fill in either case. And, maybe he moves to the bullpen if an injury or vice versa. He's a guy who can be that chameleon for the Braves pitching staff. And you said it. Doesn't matter if he gets it now or in 2 months. He's going to be out pretty much all of next year unless the internal brace, works wonders. And even then, it's very, very unlikely. So it doesn't. I read it and I was like, golly, that's kind of crazy. And then I saw somebody say, it's like, well, it doesn't really matter. And I go, oh, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. You're either out or, you're out next year no matter what. So you might as well try and play. And if you're Grant Holmes, I'd want to be on the field too.
There was a couple of more. We got Chris Sale. He is nearing a return. It looks like we will see Chris Sale again this season. I know a lot of people don't want to see that, but at the end of the day, as we say about these guys in bubble wrap, if there's still 6 weeks to go in the season and Chris Sale's ready to go, he's going to make a few more starts for the team, which if you're just talking about from a viewership perspective, he's one of the few guys that keeps you coming back for more. So it's very possible the last 5-6 weeks, we have both Ronald Acuna Jr. and Chris Sale back for that stretch run as we battle for last place in the NL East. Spencer Schwellenbach has not started throwing, so it seems like I would venture to guess that Spencer Schwellenbach's season is over.
Yeah, fractured elbow. I mean, I don't really know how that impacts pitchers.
I don't know if I've never really seen it. It's not something.
It's got to be a stress fracture because blunt force to cause a normal fracture doesn't make any sense. So it's got to be a stress fracture. I'm not a doctor, but I mean that's the logical direction. And as far as stress fractures, I know people have had them in their foots, and it kind of like it can linger. It can certainly linger. It's scary. I mean, that's one of those injuries that I don't know if anyone really knows anything about it.
And that's why, at least with Spencer Schwellenbach, when you're dealing with a fractured elbow, I thought, like, right when I saw that, I was like, there's no way they're bringing him back. Like a fractured rib cage, it's like, all right, well, he's already, first of all, Chris Sale got the injury well before Spencer Schwellenbach, but you can pretty much tell, okay, this is good. There's not going to be anything. There's not going to be any bad negative effects if you go out there and throw pitching once those are healed properly. A stress fracture or a fracture or whatever the hell is going on with Spencer Schwellenbach's elbow, I don't think I'm messing with that, especially considering he's still so young and he's already had major injuries in the past.
Yeah, I mean, That one scares me. That one scares me a lot because I love the guy. And you saw, exactly what he could be this past year. I mean, that was the best I think I even could have imagined him looking. I think everybody was high on him. I may have been a little bit higher on him. But no, and anybody said that they saw a 99 fastball coming, you're a complete liar.
And it wasn't just 99. I mean, frankly, he was touching 100. I mean, he hit 100 several times, and he started.
And his secondary offerings were.
No, I mean, he looked like the kind of pitcher that could be a superstar for years to come. And when you have a guy like that that's so young, under team control, so important for your future, there's absolutely no reason to risk that, especially when you're talking about an elbow. It's like it's not even remotely similar to Chris Sale. We also had another update on Ronaldo Lopez. He started playing catch. I have a hard time believing the Braves, given that he's dealt with fatigue last year. He's dealt with fatigue this entire season. He had surgery on his shoulder. I have a hard time believing they're going to push him to come back this season for any sort of reason, given the way this season has gone. But who knows? At least he's at the point where he's playing catch.
I know we need innings, and we're trotting out some bums right now in the rotation, but I know I just said, too, if Grant Holmes is healthy, maybe he could be that hybrid. Maybe he's not. Maybe you don't even push it. Maybe you don't even push it with Lopez in terms of maybe don't ask him to be a starter. I mean, you're flirting with danger with both of these guys. I don't think suddenly they're going to be, oh, now I'm good. It's like, oh, I had a little bit of a break. Now we can go and I'll go throw 5 innings every single night. I mean, it feels like we're really flirting with danger. And Grant Holmes, maybe you can be afforded to do that because of the contract and everything like that. But Lopez is like, you still owe him some money. It might be better to just put him in the bullpen. I don't know.
I don't see any reason why you push Lopez back out there as a starting pitcher. I mean, if you're looking at the checklist of offseason to-do list, I'm not going into next season, this offseason, thinking that Grant Holmes can be a starting pitcher for me or Ronaldo Lopez. Those guys to me are either relievers, and Grant Holmes might have surgery where he's not even a part of this roster next season. So you're going into the offseason thinking that you have your 3 guys. You got Sale, you got Schwellenbach, you got Strider. Everything after that, I don't think you can consider any of these guys outside of some of your prospects. Maybe if Hurston Waldrep shows up. But even after Hurston Waldrep, none of those guys are going to do anything to convince me that they belong in this rotation to start next season. So you have 3 guys, and maybe if you squint hard enough and Hurston Waldrep has a really good last couple months of the season.
What are we doing again, doing this whole number where we're going to ask a guy, Hurston Waldrep should be your 6th starter, and if it works out, great.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, great. I don't even know if I.
Oh, and that's if he shows us that this is sustainable.
Yeah, I'm thinking 6, 7, 8. You have him. You have him as your 6th guy, Joey Wentz as a 7th guy, Grant Holmes maybe as an 8th guy if he's healthy, and then you add, 4 or 5 and maybe a 9 too. And then I'll start feeling comfortable about the state of this rotation. The USA Today poll dropped their top 25. We're going to break it down coming up after the break.